Only a few blocks off the main square in Glen is the studio of celebrated sculptor and painter Robert Summers. Residing in his boyhood hometown, Robert began creating figures and animals with bread dough at the age of 2. He was painting and doing pencil sketches by the time he was old enough to go to school, and graduating to oil painting by the age of 9.
My mother told a story, and I can't vouch for this. She used to, at every art show, she would tell, well, how long has your son been doing this? Since he was 2.5. And she would stick with it. I said, I can't vouch for this, but she said I would sit at the table and pull center out of bread and roll it up, make it into dough, and fashion little animals when I was 2.5.
Oh my goodness.
And I can't vouch for that, but I do remember when I was 4.5, 5, and I remember doing watercolors.
His art is a magnificent reflection of his love for wildlife and the cowboy spirit, as you can see in some of these smaller versions of his masterful sculptures at the Bernard's Mill Museum. Welcome to the Robert Summers Studios. Robert Summers is a nationally known sculptor of monuments of epic dimensions. He also sculpts smaller bronzes. Robert is also a very well-known painter of Western, Civil War, and other subjects. If you're looking for someone to create a stunning major monument, such as the John Wayne at the Orange County Airport, or are looking for some smaller bronze sculptures or paintings or prints from one of the best-known and highly celebrated artists of our time, meet Bob Summers.
I've done almost every type of subject matter, but by and large, since I began painting seriously and professionally, it's been mostly in the Western genre. Not necessarily just cowboys or cowboys and Indians type, but I'm talking about Western landscape, the Southwestern flavor, let's put it that way. A lot of my old schoolmates said, I can't believe you've gotten to be such a historian, since that was your worst subject at school. And it was, I wasn't interested in history in school, but it soon became a big part of my life when I started trying to do authentic artwork for period pieces.
Bob invited us into his studio and sculpting warehouse to see what current pieces he was creating. As we entered the living room, there stood the original Tom Landry clay statue. It was amazing to see the actual piece that the bronze version that now stands at Texas Stadium today was made from.
Working with the Landry family was just a joy, and to getting to know them is it's part of the process to me. You have to get into a specific mindset, at least I do, and feel like I really know this person up close and personal before I can really do justice to the person. And most of these projects I've been involved with have been that way, and it's just been so neat to meet the family. It kind of makes you think you knew that person once you start knowing the family.
Yeah. As our tour continued, Bob shared some other interesting pieces of Billy the Kid and various pieces he has in the works.
The horse is shying back. Something has startled the kid. And he was stealing one of Chisholm's cows. The steer's, of course, unhappy and bawling, and he's been quick-tied. And so we don't know what's coming up, a posse or Chisholm's men or whatever, but again, it's for the viewer to decide.
Yeah.
But he's reaching for his sidearm. They wanted to do a cattle rustler, but they would kind of like it favoring Billy the Kid. They said they might not even put that on the legend.
At Bob's warehouse, he shared with us an incredible piece he is creating for Tulsa, Oklahoma. When finished, it will be an East meets West masterpiece. Government funds and grants are being provided to improve the national icon that winds through Tulsa, known as the Mother Road. Route 66 exists because of the efforts of Tulsan Cyrus Avery, who would not give up his vision for a highway across America. And today, Route 66 is considered a valuable piece of Americana and an international tourist draw. The piece that Bob is creating represents just that. The Cyrus Avery Centennial Plaza will house a larger-than-life sculpture of Cyrus Avery and his family in a Model T abruptly meeting up with a horse and buggy, a not-so-subtle metaphor representing old meets new. The plaza also sports an overlook to the Cyrus Avery Route 66 Memorial Bridge and will display flags from every state through which the highway passes.
It's going to be the centerpiece for a celebration of the 85th birthday of the letting of Route 66. Right there in Tulsa. That's where the final connection was made, right there over the Arkansas River. So it's an interesting project.
It was awesome to see Bob at work and his crew creating this piece. In his warehouse, a real Model T was being used as an example for the 135% scale version sitting directly next to it. Bob and I continued our conversation about his favorite piece of all time, the John Wayne statue.
That was such an honor to do that piece. You know, when I was called, I just almost fell out of the chair. I mean, because there's a lot of sculptors around the world, and to be the one chosen was just, you know, mind-boggling to me. And I worked on the small piece, the 30, I think it's 33 inches. I worked on that probably 3 or 4 months on the small one, and then once it was approved, then I started the large one, the 9.5-foot version. And I was really tickled to have the Duke's sons come in, Michael and Patrick, the two older boys, came probably 6 or 7 times over the course of a year it took to do the piece, you know, the large piece.
What Bob began to share with me next was unbelievable to me. Bob shared some rare home movies of the creation of the piece from start to finish. Also on the tape were some clips of Bob discussing with John Wayne's sons the statue. In addition, he had taped the actual ceremony of the unveiling. It was incredibly interesting to me to see these tapes and to hear about the relationship that Bob had formed with the Wayne family.
We developed a really neat friendship, and they were so helpful in giving little insights as to the demeanor of their pop and everything. So I was really, it was a labor of love to do that project.
You have 4 major projects in the works right now?
Yes, I do. One for Waco, one for Artesia, New Mexico, one for Roswell, and of course the Tulsa piece we just mentioned. And actually there's a 5th one. It's not totally written in stone yet, but the Reagan piece. Actually, I was commissioned to do that, and it went through all of the various committees, including the late Michael Deaver, which was one of the last steps into the final approval, and then of course the final approval being Nancy Reagan, and she gave her approval on it. We had it set up and ready to start the mathematical procedure of enlarging, and September 11th, when the first planes hit the World Trade Center, and of course that basically killed the project at that time. Then I got word that it was off, and so I've gotten into these other pieces.
How do you put a price on something like that?
You know, it's probably the most difficult part of my job is trying to get a realistic figure and to where I can make money at it, of course, but that's not has never been my sole interest in life, is becoming rich and famous. I'm just thankful to the Lord that He's allowed me to do what I do and make a decent living at it. Bronze casting is a very expensive proposition. For instance, I think the Tulsa project has cost me close to $500,000 just to mold and cast it. Even though I can kind of anticipate a little bit of the timing involved, I never hit it right on. And a project of this nature, of the size we're talking about here, can easily extend 6 months. That's a bunch, you know. And so when it does, obviously my profit value starts going way down when that happens, because of the constant changing of and the price increases, and you can't anticipate that. You know, just like this, for instance, let me give you one illustration. The bronze pricing last year just went crazy. The Chinese market drove it up from $3.25 a pound to $4.69 a pound. Now, when you're buying 18 to 20,000 pounds at a time, it's significant.
It sure is.
And so that alone can jump a project up $30,000, $40,000 easy.
Well, best of luck to you.
Thank you
all
so
your
much,
endeavors.
Jim.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it, and thank you for coming out.
Our pleasure. You know what? It's time to hit the road and head south out of Glen Rose. On Highway 67, travelers can see some of the more spectacular views of the northern Texas hill country.